Hello friends, welcome to my channel. I am Kelly Hyde, a freelance makeup artist for the past 20 years and a Saint Beauty artist. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about some of the techniques I use for application. And basically, I just want to get you familiar with my terminology that I tend to use when I'm giving someone a color match or discussing the application with one of my customers. I use terms like blending and pressing and swiping and tapping and all of these things. And I've come to realize that while those terms are second nature to me because I've been doing them for so long, my customers don't exactly know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to be describing each of those techniques today for you in this film. I do want to note I have a sick child home today and I cannot escape the noise of his coughing. He can be heard throughout this house. So please accept my apologies in advance. Okay, friends, the first term we're going to talk about today is swiping on product. This is not a technique that I use very often, but in a rare occasion that I do suggest it to you, I want you to understand what the application would actually look like. So swiping is going to give you a heavy amount of product. So if you are interested in a very full coverage look, then you would swipe your product on. You're probably going to want to use a brush that's dense, like this brush is more dense as compared to like this. See how fluffy this is, see how dense this is. So I don't particularly swipe my products on my face, but I can show you with contour what it is. It's literally just packing on your product and then swiping on your face. So it's really not that technical or difficult, but that would be swiping, okay? So for some people who want a heavy coverage, they'll just take even this brush, they'll dip into their main shade and they'll swipe it across, their face like that. So that is swiping. Let's talk about something that I do say a lot, buffing. What does buffing mean? I'm gonna use my color corrector and I'm going to buff it into my skin. So I'm using the shorter end of my blush and bronzer brush, and I'm going to use this to address the redness in my skin, and this is buffing. So think of Karate Kid, wax on, wax off. That is buffing, okay? All right, let's talk about pressing, another term that I use a lot. So if you are a person who I have recommended do some color correcting on your face like I just did, buffing in your color corrector will be first. But then if you're going to go over it with your main shade to really get that coverage and to bring those tones back to matching your neck and chest, because your color corrector will always be warmer than your actual skin tone to address the redness or melasma that you're dealing with. So then I'm going to tell you to press your main shade over it. So what I mean by press, and I'm using two colors today because I have a fading self-tan, so I really don't know what shade I am. This is pressing. Just as it sounds, you're just going to press it on because you have already spent some time buffing in that color correction. If we go to buff in this main shade, you're going to kind of buff off your color correction. So we want to gently just go over that color correction and buff it in, or press it in. So you're just gonna press it on as to not disturb that color correction that you've already spent so much time doing. Okay, let me do my bronzer is always buffed in, okay? So we're just kind of tap and swirling. Bring it down over here. The final term that I tend to use a lot is tapping. So tapping is often a term that I will use when we're talking about under the eye, because tapping is light. So pressing, we're pushing, it into the skin. Tapping, it's just like a light press, okay? It's very, very light. Your brush is barely tapping your skin. And I often talk about that when I'm talking about, well, I just smacked myself in the face. When I'm talking about the under eye area, that skin here is so delicate. It has fine lines, it is puckering, it is doing all those wonderful things that has just shown all the years that we've spent smiling. And we don't want to disturb it too much. We don't want to be pulling on it, causing that area to be even more dramatic than it is. And second, we want to kind of just tap it in so that it's not, if you were to swipe product in under here, it is gonna lay in those creases and it is going to be so obvious and just, it's gonna make you crazy all day. So I'm gonna first tap in my color corrector because I'm a little bit pink under here. See how I'm just tapping and then I just kind of tap right under here. And then I'm gonna take my brightening shade and I tap it under here. See, I'm not buffing, I'm not swiping. I'm doing this tap and it's kind of like pressing it on, but with a lighter hand, okay? Because we don't, while we want coverage, we just really don't want a ton of product there. So now I'm gonna do my blush. And for my blush, I tend to press it on. And maybe, yeah, I tend to press on my blush. So I'm going to take the shade Nude, because what else would I be using? And I'm going to just tap it into there. And then I'm tapping it on. And then I kind of lightly buff, just to make sure you don't see those individual tap marks. So let's see on this side. Tap, 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 buff, buff, buff. Okay, there we go. So I hope that helps you understand the terminology that I tend to use, at least anyway, when I am giving you your color match descriptions. If you've never had a color match from me before, it comes with a sheet on what each color is that I've selected for you is meant to do and how to apply it. So, you know, like I said, I use terms like blending, pressing, swiping, tapping, all of those things. So I just wanted to have a place for you guys to kind of reference when you're getting started on what those terms actually mean and what it looks like to do that. So I hope that that helped you, and I will see you next week.